This is Beyond the Veil with Norman Meredith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Norman coming from Pickens, South Carolina tonight with episode 28, where we talk about ley lines, portals, and might even throw in some portal and pyramids we may throw in. Tonight, my co-host is going to be Jackie, coming from the far side of the moon. And hopefully, if my guest shows up, he's got some little bit of knowledge on portals and ley lines and a lot of funky stuff that goes on his property. If he pops in, I'll introduce him then. But I'm not gonna ruin it by saying his name now, because he may not show up if I tell his name. He might get camera shy. So going forward, how you doing tonight, Jackie?
I'm glad there's no extraordinary weather going on out here. Nope.
Yeah, that's what our guest is experiencing.
Tornadoes or crazy. Yeah. I'm done with that for a while.
It's beautiful down here. I'm wearing a pair of shorts and short socks and Dockers, and I'm feeling great. But unfortunately, our other guest is having some storms come through his area, so it's kind of iffy whether or not it's going to show up. That's why I say.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of crazy storms. How about that? The storms that were running through Nebraska.
I hadn't heard about that.
Tornadoes wiping out basically everything, or was it Oklahoma? Anyway, it was somewhere in the middle of the United States, and they had 27 tornadoes. Really?
Well, our hearts and prayers go out to those folks out there, to the survivors, and to the rescue workers having to do the grisly work of recovery. We do know how that can be, and then the hard work of having to help those people recover from what they've gone through. So let's keep our hearts and prayers out for those folks out there tonight.
Absolutely. Right. So what are we doing tonight?
Well, we're going to talk about an interesting subject. What do you know about ley lines and portals?
Ley lines are all across the globe. There are many large structures that have been built on these ley lines, and a lot of people say that they are all connected with a underground tunnel.
Really? Which underground tunnels? I've heard stories of these tunnels, but...
Tunnels underneath the pyramids that connect every single one of them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Now, do you know what the ley lines technically are? Electrical magnetic force is what they're composed of. They're supposedly part of the natural, I'm going to use the term biology of our planet.
Yes. And
this is one symbol of what the ley lines look like around the world. This is showing the North American continent, and you notice there's major points of convergence, or they call them vortices. Now, I want y'all to look slightly off the coast of Florida there. Do you see what I see? A major point of convergencies. And what happens in that area of major points of convergencies?
Things go missing.
Yeah,
people go missing.
The Bermuda Triangle, huh? Interesting coincidence, huh?
I don't believe in coincidences. It's all about frequency. It's all about the energy of the planet. And, we live on an electrically charged planet.
Yes, exactly. There was a game that came out in the late 80s. It was called Rifts, and it was about, there was a major catastrophe around our time now, and basically blood sacrifice because of wars and stuff like that just caused the entire planet's ley lines to erupt, and it was like mountains of blue lines of energy that you could see that went up into the sky for like hundreds of feet. It made a great graphic, and it was just lines of power. Now here we're showing a sign of a magnetic flux portal, and Ain't that freaking interesting? Now, in Stargate, they use a different type of portal, but this is a magnetic field that's being portrayed using, I forget what gas, to illuminate the positive and negative energy related in that field. Don't that look cool?
It's very cool. It kind of reminds me of the vortex field that is around humans.
Really, tell me about it. What is this
So it's
vortex
called a
field?
torrid field, and it kind of sort of looks like a donut around the human, and the structure of that allows for us to be able to pull energy from everything that is around us. And if we're taught how to do it, we can also use that to be able to help heal our body.
All right, I'm going to use the term wheel within wheels. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yeah, okay.
Multiple wheels that are surrounding us? Or just the one
well,
donut around us and we're in the middle of the hole?
I think we're in the middle. We're like in our own vortex. I mean, we're talking about vortexes. We're in the middle of our own. And like sometimes when people have issues with like wearing watches or having metal on them, or things just kind of go a little wonky.
I know a supervisor that can't touch computers because she fries them.
Oh, yeah.
She's full of energy, and negative or positive. It's just her and computers do not get along.
She is taking not only the energy that is inside her, but it's interacting with everything else that is going on. And a lot of times electrical devices, because you're getting the charge from the electronic, or even if it's not even plugged in and but it's still charged,
right,
things can be offset by that, and it can fry the inside of a computer.
Yeah. So it's like being, I'm going to use it is Marvel. A Marvel reference where static shock, no, it's DC. Static shock where he projects his electrical bolt of energy into an electrical system and it just basically goes poof type deal.
Absolutely. So,
or like a taser.
Yes.
Taser would be a better analogy for some people. You see the spark before you touch somebody, or cattle prod, and then you watch them jump and dance.
Yep.
Yeah, you ever been accidentally shocked by something? You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
I could tell you a funny story. My mom was playing with my taser one day, and she zapped herself, and it was the funniest stuff in the world. And she cussed me out upside and down the other because she accidentally used my taser. I'm like, told you not to play with it. Now she laughs at me about it. But yeah, it was, I screwed light bulbs in wrong or plugged in something wrong. I just had a little water on my hands. It was like, yeah, my hair stood up. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Absolutely. And so if they are living on a ley line or in one of these toroidal fields, lots of different kinds of activity can happen. We can have ghosts, we can have cryptids, we can have a psychic phenomenon that is off the chart, and it has also an effect, of course, on the land where we're living, and there can be portals that will come out of the, as we say, the nothing, and it can have an effect on the surrounding area.
Yes. Did you know that There was a gentleman that did some research into magnetic lines and UFOs and discovered that the majority of UFO sightings seem to follow the magnetic lines, and he started doing a paper on it, and some unknown three-letter agency intervened, took all his research, and told him he was not allowed to do anything more research into this, say anything. It was considered classified. Yeah.
Yeah, because if people actually knew that they could change their environment, heal their body, and take and give energy freely to be able to help others, we would probably have a little less money flowing to the pharmaceutical establishments.
Do you know which great inventor was a great person involved in that theory that you're talking about and was pushed out by Edison and a lot of other people with big names and deep pockets?
I do think you are, but correct me if I'm wrong, thinking about Tesla?
That's the man. The man was a genius beyond his time, but
he also did a lot of research in electromagnetic currency,
mm-hmm.
and had coils and things of that sort to do some of his experiments.
Yes, Tesla coils. They were in there doing all sorts of things. Some of them were supposed to be able to heal people. He even built one tower so large it was supposed to provide free energy, but someone said it was a death ray, so you know what the government did to it.
Oh, they came in and dismantled it.
Hell, they blew it up with a ton of dynamite.
Yeah, they dismantled, but yeah, they blew it up. But they also went in after he
died.
I'm going to say mysteriously died.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not 100% that he was ready to go himself.
So someone made him a push.
Wiped out everything that was in his room. Took all of his notebooks.
Well, you know which famous
papers,
agency
everything.
did that. You know which famous agency did that.
Yeah.
The FBI did that supposedly. But do you know?
I think actually that it was the CIA.
Well, they say FBI, but
because,
you know who became the Now, here's a trivia bit. Do you know who supposedly became the caretaker of that information? You're going to growl at me when I tell you the answer.
I don't know that offhand.
Donald Trump's uncle. He was an astrophysicist or a nuclear physicist.
That's right. He's right.
He got all He got all that information and started categorizing it and further researching it, supposedly even making inroads into time travel.
Okay, and there is a book I do believe that he wrote. And
Tulsa? Or the uncle?
I think it's about Baron Trump.
Yes. There is a book.
I can't remember the name of it right now, but
it was written in the 1800s, I believe. Late 1800s, 1870, yes. I think it was. Yeah.
I could see if I could figure out I'll write myself a note and get the title of that book. It is very interesting.
Yeah. Supposedly Tulsa was able to see the past, the present, and the future while sitting under a Tulsa field at the same time.
Makes sense, because there is no such thing as time. We create a construct in our brain that gives us the impression that there is time because we see a passing. We are young and then we, get old and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, there is this effect, it's a physical effect that we have, but I am of the impression that everything is all happening all at once. It's part of the reason why some people who have PTSD have such vivid experiences, because it's still going on.
Yeah.
And until they're able to detach from that experience and allow themselves to be able to ground and move forward, they're still going to go in that loop.
Yeah, I agree. And there's those instances of, what's that word? Where you think you've been somewhere before, but you haven't been there.
Oh,
Deja
deja
vu.
vu.
Yes, deja vu.
Right. And so, or people who are experiencing the desire to go to a certain place on the planet because they feel extremely drawn to it,
Right.
or the food, or the way the landscape is, or the architecture, or things of that sort. They're tying into a something that
A racial
what?
memory.
I do believe so.
Racial memory. A subconscious type memory of a previous life. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities.
Yes, this is very cool. So, people that experience a lot of psychic ability, or things that they cannot explain, that they can capture on film, are probably living in areas where there are very active ley lines or these portals.
Yes, there's a lot of evidence, especially in the Bigfoot community, where Bigfoots are located around ley line hotspots. Now, on the images that we showed, those are the major ley lines. There are smaller ley lines that run from these lines, like capillaries and veins. You know, they get smaller. So there's runoff lines. And also in some of these places, these are where a lot of people disappear as well. Like something's just opened up and grabbed them. A portal for existence. For example, there are accounts of portals opening up in the world. A friend of this show, William Nighthawk, on his property, he has a picture in his woods of a perfect circle in the middle of his trees of a portal. And because of that portal, he's had strange occurrences happen on his property. There's a bird that looks like, now don't laugh at me, it looks like a pterodactyl from the distance that flies.
I saw footage of something like that. And this was maybe a couple of years ago?
Yeah, we've looked at some footage, you and I. We've talked about it, that we believe that some of these may be creatures coming through portals in the air that may open up, or a time rift. It could be a portal in time or a time rift, or creatures come through and disappear.
Can you tell for our audience what the difference is between a time rift and a portal?
Okay. To me, a portal, a time rift, goes back to a specific time and event. And you can, if it's depending how long it stays open, you can go back to that specific time and event. Okay? It can be a one-time portal, or it could be a portal that opens up under certain circumstances. Now, a regular portal is a portal that opens up to a place, dimension. Those are the two things that I know as a portal, as a place or a dimension that a portal would open up. It's a doorway to another world. Not necessarily a time, but it can possibly be a time portal. But I'm not so much for portals being time portals. I believe there's a difference between them. There's time rifts that open up from time, different places in time, both past and present and future, where things from the past can come forward and things from the future come back to us to check things, see how we're doing, and go, okay, we need to tweak this mistake before you make it so you don't kill us in the future. To me, that's a time rift or time portal. Other portals are links to another dimension. They can also be a transportation portal, like a wormhole, to get you from point A to point B, like in Stargate, where it's used as a mode to transportation. Or if you look I'm not sure what TV series or movies it might be out there that open you a portal where you walk through into another world. That would be the other type of portal, okay?
Right.
If you, what was that name of that TV series a while back? The guy flew a wormhole.
And I could see it.
Yeah, it was. They had the giant Muppets created into it a little bit. It was a living spaceship. Astronaut flew through. I love that show. I can't remember the name of it, but he flew through a wormhole. But it was a portal had to open up in the wormhole. Okay,
Right.
So regardless of what you go through, you're going through a portal. A door is considered a portal, believe it or not. It's an
A
opening.
mirror is a portal.
Yes. That's why you don't say a lot of things in front of your mirrors.
Yeah, and don't have a mirror at the end of your bed. If you're going to have a mirror in your bedroom, off to the side is really good. But at the foot of your bed is not so good, because some people, when they dream, they actually go through a portal or a dimensional
Rift? Anomaly?
Yeah. Yes, and you don't want that there. So
I remember that.
yeah,
So
don't do that.
I guess all those mirrors I was planning to put up on the ceiling or the wall are not going to happen now.
There's another thing too. I am ignoring that. So if you have one mirror up aside another mirror, unless you are trying to open up a portal, don't do that.
Yeah, we don't want bad things coming out. There's a lot of science fiction with bad things happening when you do stuff like that.
Yeah, but people think that it's kind of a silly thing, because maybe they don't know, and of course we get that famous line, around and find out, and you really don't want to do that. So yeah, all of that is
not good things to do, because then you'd be calling in the X Division to do things that you don't want to be done, and then get your mind scrambled.
The other part of it is, though, there is a lot of denser energy, that lower frequency energy that likes to hang around these things and waits for opportunity to be able to come into the dimension that we're in now. And if you don't know, it's kind of like some of these people that are playing with like Ouija boards and stuff, because they think that it's a big joke, lots of hooey. It is, until the thing says yes.
Yeah. Or if you forget to close the Ouija board, get Chris for us.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about
Don't play with those either.
Did you know, in some of the Bigfoot investigations that I've been doing here privately up in the Greenville area of South Carolina, I have found electromagnetic energy residue. That's related to ley lines and so forth. And this is from a living creature, apparently. Then I found out
very interesting.
And then when I went on my expedition, where I got invited to, a lot of the researchers I talked to go and record this stuff, because they have found the same energy that I thought was there, and they proved my hypothesis that yes, it exists with Bigfoot or living as a living creature. So what does that tell you about?
I think that they walk in between dimensions, and they have this static about them that can be picked up on the those electrical EMF readers.
Yes.
And in the middle of the woods, you're not going to get that kind of a signature like you would, like, say, if you were in a house or in a district where there is electrical current.
And I think the ley lines help feed them that energy that helps keep them moving and to perform their, I'm going to use the term magic because it's the only other thing I can say. Unless they're wearing invisible.
Like all of these, I mean, we have the globe here. We have it showing that it probably goes all the way around,
It does.
the entire surface.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff is all connected.
Yeah.
Just because you're only in one spot does not mean that you
Here we
cannot
go with
connect
one
with the rest
worldwide.
of it.
This is worldwide with a larger
Yes.
view, but not with all the extra lines in it, if you take a look at it.
Right.
And if you look, you see a lot of points, vortexes off of different places, which is quite interesting. And then how the convergences are and how they move. It makes interesting, especially I'm curious about, well, we know about the one off the Bermuda Triangle, about some of these other places if there's disturbances there on a larger scale.
There's one off of the coast of Japan,
Yes, the Devil's Sea.
and it has the same kind of things that are happening where Bermuda is. They're losing ships, they're losing planes, people, and I keep thinking about that. There was a plane that disappeared for 10, 20 years
Uh-huh.
and just reappeared again.
Where'd they find it?
Came back. I have to look that one up. See if I can do that. Go ahead and regale the people while I see if I can find that.
Okay. There was a story going around on Instagram, and I think it might be on TikTok, about a missing aircraft. And then it shows up at Buenos Aires and lands, and it had been missing for like 50 years. And all
That's
the passengers,
it. That's the one.
All the passengers
That's the thing.
all the passengers were dead. The crew members were dead, and there were skeleton. I don't know what to make of that. It's just weird. It is so hard to comprehend personally that an aircraft missing for 50 years finally makes in the landing after being disappeared. It was landing in Buenos Aires, I think, down in South America.
Yes, in South America, yes.
Yeah.
And the plane itself was perfectly fine.
Yeah. The plane was in mint
There was
condition.
nothing wrong with it.
Mm-mm.
Like we have planes now that everything's fallen off and et cetera, but this thing was in the same condition that it was when it took off.
Yeah. And nothing had aged in it. The only difference was
except for the people.
The people on board were bones and clothes. That was
Now
it.
think about going through
A portal?
a portal or a wormhole. I mean, you're up in, pretty freaking high up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how high those particular aircraft go, but I know that it's miles and miles into the
Atmosphere?
atmosphere, I guess. And
It's called atmosphere.
for a plane to not show any age, but the contents, the humans in the plane, to show that there was an aging. Just think about how they talk, and now of course we're going to go over to science fiction, but a lot of times science fiction turns into science fact,
Yes.
and they're just spoon feeding us.
Right.
How long they would have had to have been gone, or where they went, that they would have continued to age until there was nothing. How long does it take for the average body
To decompose?
to decompose until it is bone?
Give it 5 years if you want to do it complete.
But you're in a
Airplane.
that kind of stuff slows down.
Because you're in a
it
confined
is
space. They should have
In the
mummified.
right. And I know that because my husband does a lot of forensics studies
Well,
and things
guess
of that
what
sort.
guess what you can ask Chin to do?
Ask him how long he would think that it would have to be for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
we
think
we
you'd be willing to
have
do it?
sure. We have the amount of time that plane was gone,
Right.
and then when it came back.
Right.
The other thing is, do you know where it took off from?
No, I don't. Something about Santiago comes to mind. It was either Buenos
So
Aires that took off and landed in Santiago, or in Santiago took off and landed in Buenos Aires. I'd have to look up the article and try to find the story again.
it would be very interesting to find where the starting and where the ending field is, and then look to see if there are any of these portals within that area.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of portals, back in the late 80s, there was a private pilot in Florida. He flew from the Bahamas to Miami, and the trip takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours by single engine prop plane. And he entered a tunnel flying back to Miami. Got a little rough, difficult, and all that. And then finally, he was in clear skies. He figured he was in that tunnel for a few minutes, and so come back to, and then finally, when he hit the tunnel, he was still around Bermuda airspace. Hit that tunnel for a few minutes or so, and then when he cleared out, he was right off the coast of Florida, coming into Miami. Only a few minutes. And then when he checked his fuel tank and the time, he had over 30 minutes of fuel left, which is unusual because he said he never would have that much fuel. And it was like 45 minutes early.
I remember that one too.
Yeah, he wrote a book about that experience.
He's like, how the heck did that happen? Had to have. Now some people were out there saying, well, the winds aloft. Must have changed. I'm like, okay, so you're going to get extra push, if you've got a strong, I guess, backwind.
Right.
But it's not going to give you like almost teleporting energy to be able to get from point A to point B. You're still going to have to.
That was an example of a portal for movement, I would say. It opened the door, and you're able to transport from A to B. Now, here's something I learned in Bigfoot world. You know that book I sent you?
Yes.
There's some stick structures that look like a wigwam, where
saw it.
It's bent over, and then there's in a straight line, these sticks bent over each other. Look like you could build a longhouse.
Well, I know what you're going to say. I know. Go ahead. Go ahead and say it.
It seems that when Bigfoot is running and they run through it, it seems like they move faster. They can move a lot faster through that tunnel. And a lot of electrical magnetic energy is associated with this tunnels, or as I call it, an escalator. Because I sat there and talked with the guy. I said, you know what you got there is you got a Bigfoot escalator. It's perfectly timed. And if Bigfoot is using EMF energy, and you're telling me you're finding EMF energy related to this, they're working together where it's basically boosting him straight through like a shot.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense in how this plane did that too.
Yeah.
Just there had to be something that was around that plane.
Yeah.
And the circumstances had to be just so for that to happen.
Had to be just right.
Because if it was something that happened on a regular, we'd be hearing about it like, what? Yeah. But this is something that was extremely rare, yeah.
And this is one of the theories that may have happened in Flight 19, is they hit one of these portals, but instead of moving to another place, it may have took them to another dimension or time, as well as other missing ships and aircraft. There was a story, you're not going to believe this, back in the National Enquirer back in the 70s, because I used to read them for fun, about a U.S. aircraft carrier that was traversing the Bermuda Triangle during a storm. And they hit something. And it was like a doorway. The carrier was bigger than the doorway. And they could hear screams and moans and everything coming out of this doorway. And some of the sailors say it sounded like hell. Till the doorway disappeared. The aircraft carrier was too big to go through it.
Don't go in that area.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was true or just something the Inquirer did for part of their sales.
There's so many of those stories because I used to watch it. I used to read that for entertainment purposes.
Exactly.
But,
that's why I read it, was entertainment purposes. I like reading stories about the Bigfoot and UFOs.
What's funny is, though, I think that they were actually putting some of these things out to be able to let these people tell their stories and give them a safe place to do it, because who's going to take it seriously? But they're able to express themselves.
Exactly.
And a lot of times, these people who have extraordinary experiences need to be able to tell someone. They need to be able to do that, because if they don't, then it can make them go into insanity.
Yes.
Or shut down completely.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, I think we need to tie this up for tonight, and this may be something we'll have to talk about some more in the future.
Hopefully we'll get your friend on.
Yeah, hopefully. Usually every time we try to do something, either his health kicks in, weather does, or the Men in Black play with his internet.
Yeah, I have a...
Or the reptilians.
Something's going on.
So, we're good. We'll try again in the future when he can possibly come on. He's got some interesting stories to tell. He's a very wonderful person. And like I say, he's a great contributor to my show. He shows it off to everybody he can from his show. William Nighthawk and the Red Rabbit podcast show. He does it on the weekends, 3 days a week, and he also has a morning show. It comes at 10 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. William Nighthawk, look him up on Facebook. He is a wonderful person, U.S. Army vet, Special Forces, First Nation shaman. The man is very knowledgeable in the cryptid and paranormal world. If you ever needed help or needed someone to talk to or ask for advice, he's the person I would turn to. So.
Hey, don't you have a photo that you wanted to show before we kicked out?
Which one?
The one with the faces.
The faces.
On Mars?
The faces. Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and show you the faces. You ready? I forgot about that one.
Yeah, especially since one of our watchers decided that they wanted to have us take a look at it.
I'm a goofball and forgot to write down the name of the watchers. The watcher, the supporter that sent this to me. Okay? But I want everybody's opinion on what you think about this video that was taken by the Mars rover on Mars, and see what you think. I know what Jackie already thinks. All right, here we go, folks. We're going to go take a look here in this rock pile. And here we go, zooming in. Zoom in some more. All we see right now is a bunch of rocks. But watch the mouse pointer. And look carefully down to the left a little bit. About 8 o'clock, turn your head sideways to the right.
I'm sorry, excuse me, what the heck?
Yes. Do you see it? What do you see? Looks like a face, don't it? And there's no way in hell that sand or wind did that. So you know what that means, folks? There was life on Mars, or some visitors that colonized it for a while and had a small civilization or outpost out there. What do you think? You think that there's good evidence now, but it's been maybe billions of years, and that's why we don't see the large structures of cities anymore, but just partial ruins that might show up when the sands shift. What you think, Jackie?
First of all, it has almond eyes, a very straight nose.
You know, it almost makes me think straight off the bat, Egyptian, because of possibility to head. But at the same time, it looks Aborigine.
Yeah, to me, kind of like, it looks actually, I mean, if we could go back to that one that that Ed just put.
I think we're going to have to wait until we go forward a little bit.
It's the last section.
Here we come. We're coming back to it.
It looks like it is a blend of different kinds of animals that they would find.
Or facial or characteristics.
To watch the last piece here.
I kind of think I see what you're saying, but
right, the very last ending point where it's all by itself and it's standing upright looks like there's that it looks like that's an animal up at the very top, and then
look at those double like cheekbones.
Right. Yeah. So there's,
and the face almost has like a muzzle.
Something
like around the mouth in it.
That's a something going on that does not happen in nature. We do not get straight lines. We do not get things that look like that.
No, we don't.
Just the earth breaking down.
No, we don't.
Something. So yeah, I'm very curious to see if there is anyone out there that has an archaeological background and or studies different kinds of tribal.
We're looking for a scientist.
Yeah, we want someone.
An archaeologist, anthropologist.
Archaeologist,
Egyptologist.
I don't think it's Egyptian though, yo. I don't think that it's that.
Somebody in native cultures?
Because it looks like part of a totem.
Could be.
Okay, and we have many tribes that have
totems.
Created totems where they use the animal's likeness to give the individuals I guess more power or more authority or something to that effect. Yes. Give them more life energy.
You know what this gives me an idea? Maybe I'll do a show on Mars and the oddities that they've been finding.
There's a whole lot of things that are up there, and it's time for somebody to be able to get out there and say, hey, look, this stuff looks like some of the stuff we got down here. Why is that?
Sounds like a project for us. What do you think?
Sure. I think so. I love that.
We'll have to do some research in the coming weeks and put together a good show for that. I think that'll be awesome. I think I might know an Air Force guy that might help us. If he's not busy.
And they can come in anonymously too. I mean, if they want to go in like a dark screen and just have, something to black out their face.
Craig Martell might even be interested in helping us on this. My author friend, former Marine Corps Colonel, Intelligence, he might be interested in joining us on something like this. He had some interesting thoughts when he and I had his interview, and he's the one whose show I can't upload because he accidentally said something about aliens. So I think, I'm not allowed to upload that show on the YouTube or Yeah,
All
it's
right.
strange, ain't it? But
Yeah.
all right, folks. Before I hang up, I'm letting you know I'm extending the drawing by one more week. I've posted pictures on Facebook group, Twitter, or excuse me, X, and where else did I put it? Not on Instagram, Twitter, or X, Facebook. Well, that's the only two platforms. And also mentioning it on YouTube, I think, as we're doing now. So I'm going to run it one more week, and then definitely we're going to draw names next week, okay? So, come on, folks. Let's hear your numbers. I want to see who might be interested in winning some of this merchandise, okay? I'd like to see some of y'all's pictures later when you're enjoying that cup of coffee or wearing that shirt or sporting that new headgear, okay? All right, next week, if I can line up, I have two potential guests to talk about Bigfoot. One is a very knowledgeable figure on stick structures and Bigfoot in general. He's an investigator with the BFRO. I'm not allowed to use expert because there are no experts in the field of Bigfoot. That's what I think. I think he's an expert. That's my opinion. And the other one is the first time Bigfoot person that has an encounter and believer. And I'm going to put two of them together in this room with Jackie and I, and we're going to talk hopefully Bigfoot next week. And the week after, we're going to do another show on Bigfoot. If I can line it up, I'm going to have Eric Brown. He is a noted author from North Carolina who writes a series on Bigfoot encounters where Bigfoot generally wins. And yes, folks, I've had the pleasure of being in one of his books. I think I played the sheriff in one and unfortunately got torn limb from limb in it. But he's a really good guy. He's even got a B-rated movie out there. I think it was called Bigfoot Wars. And Eric Brown should probably be on in 2 weeks if everything can line up. If anything changes, I will tell you and keep you advised. Hey, I make great bait in most books. In most books, I'm either a supporting cast member, a medic, or I get torn from limb. Usually in zombie books, I get torn from limb, or I'm a co-pilot, or I'm a medic in special forces. Is one of the three things that happens to me. Now in the Bigfoot book, I got to be a sheriff and got to be torn limb from limb. Hey, what can I say?
Like it's typecasting.
Yeah. When I write my own books, I'm just going to type myself up as a little podcaster sitting in a little booth in Pickens, South Carolina, talking about the human working with the aliens. All right, folks. This is me coming from Pickens, South Carolina, and Jackie from the far side of the moon. We want to give a big shout out to the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, or the BFRO. If you ever have an encounter with Bigfoot and you need someone to record it or report it to, these people are amateur researchers, or to me, they're very professional, and they're great people to reach out to seek information, help, record your information. They do keep a great database of information so they can record the events, and they will come out and investigate. And depending on how bad your situation is, they may launch a larger investigation to help you out to gather data. Because with data, we can prove for sure what Bigfoot is actually. Also, if you need any help in other situations, you can reach out to Jackie and I. We'll do what we can for you, whether it's finding resources near you if we can, and assist you in any way, shape, or form. And if you need someone to talk to, you can always message us here on the show, and we'll be more than glad to do what we can for you. I don't do dental, so stop sending me these requests to review your medical records for dental. I don't do dental. Okay, I'm just going to delete it and ignore you. Okay? So stop sending me dental requests. All right. So, as I say, our mission is if Jackie, I, and Ed can help one person or one family with something they're going through by getting them the help or resources they need, then we've accomplished our job here. Because we like to think that we're bringing you a little knowledge at night, maybe some humor, and a little ray of sunshine. And just an hour of freedom from everything around you for the night. Now remember, when you go out there at night, be careful, be safe, watch your surroundings. if something happens of the unknown, try to record it with your camera. Try to record it with your voice recorder on your phone. Write down notes. If you have witnesses or two, have them write down notes or take pictures. Record all the information you can. Put it on paper. Put it on verbal. Take pictures. Everything possible, so that way you have data. Because data helps in determining what happened and helps the investigators to either debunk or prove your claim. Okay? So always keep your eyes open when you're out there. Okay? And so I'm going to sign it off here. Jackie, do you got any words for our people tonight?
Make sure that you do everything you can to protect your energy and allow for yourself to be able to feel what the possibilities could be.
Thank you, Jackie, for sharing that. All right, folks, you heard from Jackie, you heard from me, and my producer is crossing his legs and shaking. I think he needs to run to use the restroom, so we're going to call it a night. And thank you again for joining us for this hour of Beyond the Veil, episode 28. I look forward to seeing you next week for episode 29. Good night, everybody.